Who the hell do you think you are? Just because you wear a judge's robe, yeah. That's exactly how it started, with a grown man, a cop no less, shouting at a black judge in open court, and then Gatishi actually slapped the judge across the face, right there, like he was some criminal being taught a lesson. I mean, tell me that doesn't sound like the kind of scene you'd only believe if you saw it on TV. But I'm here to tell you, sometimes real life doesn't bother with subtlety. And the wildest part? That slap, well, it was the beginning of the end, not just for him, but for the whole system he thought had his back. And you'll want to stick around because for once, justice wasn't about to look away. This all went down in a cold, blocky state courthouse in the South. You know, the type old linoleum, the faint smell of sweat and paper, and a case so minor at first you'd wonder why anyone even bothered. A 16-year-old kid, black, baby-faced, still got acne on his cheeks, being charged with obstructing a law enforcement officer because, and I swear this is what they wrote, he gave the cop a defiant look. Jalanfor, that was his name, and he just sat there, slouched into his dad's old shirt, staring at the floor, too small for the chair and too young for the room. He didn't cry, but he didn't look up either, and you just knew the weight of all those eyes well. It was enough to make a grown man shrink. Enter Officer Travis Brantley now. This guy was all business, broad-shouldered in a state trooper uniform, so stiff it could have stood up on its own. His boots made the kind of noise that says, "I own this place." And he didn't need to announce himself because you could feel the shift in the room as soon as he walked in. Judge Malcolm Varelli, a black man with silver hair and eyes that missed nothing, just sat there calm, not showy, didn't even bang the gavel. The kind of calm that doesn't come from weakness, you know what I mean? That's a man who's weathered storms without raising his voice. Anyway, Brantley slouched into the witness chair, legs out, and shot the judge this glance half daring, half bored. When Malcolm asked for his account, Brantley delivered the usual. Routine patrol, a group of teenagers in order to disperse. And then Jalan gave me that look, he said, the kind of look that's a threat where I come from. Didn't say a word about weapons or violencino, just a look, a little tilt of the chin. Judge Varelli, deadpan, asks, "So your threat assessment was based on eye contact?" Travis doesn't flinch. "Exactly. You ever watch a room get colder? That's what happened." Malcolm asks, "How tall is this boy?" Travis goes, 5'3". "And you?" 6'3". No one says a word, but everybody hears what that means. Sometimes the numbers speak for themselves. Then Malcolm thanks him and tells the clerk to note every word, especially the part describing the look. The air's heavy now, nobody's talking, but they're listening, and Malcolm, he's just getting started. There's a kind of quiet you get when people realize the story's about to change. Let me back up a sec, because the real drama is never just the courtroom. It's in the history nobody talks about. See, Travis thought he was in charge, like the judge was just another suit behind a bench. But Malcolm had seen too much to let that slide. When Travis explained that the boy's nonverbal defiance was reason enough for a takedown, Malcolm asked if the same would apply if it were a white kid in a uniform. Travis tried to laugh it off, but the judge didn't let him finish. "Don't answer if you're not sure." And here's where it all started to unravel, because the courtroom saw it too, how quick we are to call a look a crime when the face looking back doesn't look like ours. Travis, used to barking orders and never getting challenged, bristled. When Malcolm pushed, "Is it a professional reflex or is it race?" Travis answered like he'd been trained to. "I did what I was trained to do." But the judge saw through the call at what it was. If protocol only activates for certain faces, that's not skill. That's a mislearned reflex. By then, Travis had let something slide, said, "We deal with these people every day, Your Honor." Just like that, the mask dropped and the courtroom changed. You could feel it. The judge nodded, almost gently, and said, "That's the evidence I needed." From then on, the trial wasn't about Jalan Ford or Travis Brantley. It was about the system that raised men like him and told them they were always right. Outside the hearing, things spiraled fast. After the session, Travis dragged Jalan out of the room by the Kalarno process. No lawyer, just brute force. The mother, Tonia, saw it happen, and her "That's my son" cut through the hall, echoing louder than any verdict. It was caught on video, a phone recording that exploded online. Within hours, there were protests at the courthouse. Handwritten signs, "Justice doesn't drag," "Hands off our kids." No big speakers, just people who'd had enough. Malcolm didn't need to check his phone to know, could see it in the eyes of the staff, the shifting postures of deputies, the whispers of young clerks. And Renee Marshall, a journalist who'd once been stopped by Travis herself, started digging. She found a pattern, dozens of complaints, most resolved internally, all with the same outcome. Nothing changed. Malcolm met with Renee private, off the record, because he didn't want headlines, just the truth. He told her to dig deeper, to go to the root, but to be careful because digging up secrets in this town has never been cheap. When Malcolm pushed for old cases against Travis to be reopened, the system pushed back. The request was denied, outside state jurisdiction, they said. He tried again, this time drafting a personal memorandum, warning that when a system refuses to revisit errors, it ceases to deliver justice. He delivered it in person, no appointment, to the council head, who looked him in the eye and said, "You know we're bound by the framework." Malcolm didn't flinch. The framework was built to uphold justice, not cage it. Meanwhile, Renee kept connecting the dots, interviewing people like Raymond Ellis, a truck driver, and Amamura Johnson, a student who'd all been stopped, detained, and then ignored when they tried to complain. Every time she pieced together a story, the same result, resolved internally. No records, no justice. Then came the twist. Nobody expected: an anonymous email warning her off, referencing Mercer's man. She shared it with Malcolm. It was the first time anyone had named the higher-ups, the gatekeepers who let this culture fester. The next session, Tonia Ford barged into court, demanding to see the video of her son's arrest. Travis sneered, tossed off another insult. They're so used to forgiveness, they think they're victims. Malcolm didn't stop Tonia. He just nodded for her to speak, and when she said, "What value does our cooperation hold when a glance can be a crime?" nobody had an answer. Malcolm requested the original footage, unedited. That was the turning point. The trial was moved to the big hall, over 200 seats, media allowed. The place filled with people who'd been on the wrong side of professional reflex. One by one, witnesses spoke up. Micah Green, detained for walking without ID, told his story, shaking but upright. Malcolm told Travis, "The brave ones are those who stand in the light, unarmed, asking for the time." Travis lost it, pointed, threatened. "I'll come back to your neighborhood, if I have to." The room erupted. Malcolm stood, locked eyes, and said, "If you want to threaten someone, threaten me. I define right and wrong here." Travis froze. For once, everyone saw the line being drawn not by noise, but by resolve. And then it happened. Travis, red-faced, in front of a full courtroom, slapped Judge Varelli. Not a word, not a warning. Security moved, but Malcolm stopped them. "Record this act," he said. "A serving officer has just assaulted a judge." Federal authorities stepped in, cuffed Travis, and for the first time, he realized no one was going to save him. Malcolm looked at Jalen and said quietly, "You weren't wrong to look directly." That, right there, was the moment everything shifted. The public didn't cheer, they just watched as justice, for once, stood its ground. News spread. Protests grew. A photo of Malcolm, red mark on his cheek, went viral not for the pain, but for the fact he didn't flinch. College students hung it on walls. People started telling their own stories, how being silent had only ever protected the wrong side. An independent investigation revealed hundreds of complaints buried by the same system. Captain Mercer, the untouchable, resigned, admitting, "I no longer know whom I'm defending." His replacement, Layla Nuri, started sweeping reforms, removing loss of control as an excuse in internal reports. Malcolm was offered the Supreme Court. He declined. "I cannot accept," he wrote, "while justice is trampled beneath it." That letter became legend, not for ambition, but for integrity. So, here's where I leave, easy closure, no parade, just a simple truth that echoed far beyond that slap. Real justice doesn't need revenge, doesn't need to be loud, it just needs to be undeniable, even if it's quiet, even if nobody claps. And now I've got to ask, because after all this, you tell me, which side would you stand on? And how many slaps does it take before silence finally becomes a choice we can't defend? Let's hear it. Where's the line for you?